Hi Katie. This album, you sing a lot of songs written by other people. You've said about this, singing other people's songs, that it stretches you vocally. Do you have an example on this album of maybe a song or maybe a singing line that you did that really, that stretched you?
Me. I would have to go to Françoise Hardy's All Over the World. It's quite a simple and understated sounding song, but when you sing it, first of all, it's deeper than most songs that I've sung. So it kind of is in a register that I haven't really been to before. And then there's this, technically the phrasing is quite odd. You know, it has quite different timing, which you don't really hear when you just listen to it. But when you're singing it, you realize that you have to come in at odd points. So that was quite intense. And then with all this sort of complexity, you have to give this complete effortless vibe, as if it comes totally naturally. Because the song, I believe, was written in a very natural way. So that was quite a challenge, and I really enjoyed it.
And how long did it take you to get this song right?
I think it took about 4 or 5 takes. So 4 or 5.
Pretty quick then.
I guess so, yeah. I mean, you know, I tend to live with a song for some time before I try and record it. So I'd been listening to it, and I'd been sort of trying it at home, playing it on my guitar a few times. I had it a few weeks before the actual recording session, and then in the recording session, it was about 4 or 5 times.
And then another song that really pushed you. Is there another song? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say. Well, this time I'm going to go with Cry of the Lone Wolf. This is a song that actually I wrote with Mike Batt, my producer. And it's this funny thing about this album where I really didn't set out to write anything. I wanted to just sing, because I find singing such an art form, such a challenge, and so kind of quite underappreciated. So
why?
Because I don't know. I guess songwriting seems to be the more sort of respected profession, you know, and singing seems like it has that sort of image that anyone can do it. And it's not true, you know, because singing in the right way and with feeling and with true communication is so hard. I have most certainly not succeeded at it all the time.
But how come that did this change? Because you had Frank Sinatra,
yes.
Elvis Presley, they didn't write their own songs.
Yes.
When did this change?
I think probably the Beatles brought it on. You know, they kind of started this idea of, you know, because before the Beatles, there always used to be the songwriter. Yeah. Pretty much always used to be 2 of them. And then they'd be the performer, and they would, you know, they'd be in their offices writing songs. And then I think the Beatles really, you know, transformed that, revolutionized the music industry, where artists started writing their own material.
But they could sing.
The Beatles, yeah, absolutely. No, they're fantastic. But it is the Beatles after all. Yeah. So I think after that, it's just that, you know, gradually that perception changed, that singing is slightly easier than songwriting. And on some levels, I guess it is. I mean, personally for me, singing does come more naturally than songwriting does, but I still wanted to highlight it and kind of heighten my level of it on this record. So let me go back to Cry of the Lone Wolf. This is a song that I wrote with Mike, and it was kind of accidentally written, because when you don't have intention to write, when you're not trying to write, I find writing comes easier. So the reason why this song was challenging was because it speaks about a very personal subject, which I don't really want to go into now, because I don't think it's necessary to give my full history, my full biography, background to the song. But it was a very personal and quite dark subject and sort of inspiration point. So to really go into that was quite intense.
You said, this song was written with Mike Batt. When did you have the idea for this album?
Actually, the roots of the album started after I did a concert with a Philharmonic Orchestra in Stuttgart. And I came off stage, this was in 2007, I think, and I came off stage feeling so inspired and so amazed and really humbled, and I wanted to make an album with an orchestra.
What happened?
At the gig? Well, it was my first gig with an orchestra. A week before the gig, I'd lost my voice. and I didn't think I'd be able to do this concert. And I got it back just literally the day before the rehearsal with the orchestra, and I was so happy, I was so ecstatic, you know, to have the opportunity to sing with an orchestra and to have my voice back. And that those two elements just made the concert just, you know, phenomenal, just really, really special for me. And yeah, I came off stage feeling completely elated, really heightened. And I said to myself, one day I'll make an album where the orchestra is a very big part of the record. So that was the beginnings of the record. And then last year, when I did my tour, I thought, this is time now to make this record.
Why? Why now the time?
Why now? Because, well, because after the tour in 2011, which was a postponed tour from 2010, I felt just great to be back on stage, because there was a point in 2010 when I had to take a break. I had to postpone the tour, and I actually doubted whether I'd be able to sing again, to get back on stage. Yeah, I did. I was really quite scared.
Why?
And because I was, you know, for health reasons, I was going through a very hard time, and due to sort of a lot of work and pressure and things like that, I kind of had a bit of a sort of a stopgap. So yeah, I just didn't know if I'd be able to do it. So when I came back on stage, it felt amazing, and I thought, I can do this again. So I thought, right, you know, the gigs went great, the audience were fantastic, let's make an album.